Operation Moshtarak was an international security assistance force pacification offensive in the town of Marjar, Helmand Province, Afghanistan. It involved 15,000 American, Afghan, Canadian, Estonian, Danish and British troops and constituted the largest joint operation of the war in Afghanistan up to that point, and aimed to remove the Taliban from Marjar and eliminate the last Taliban stronghold in central Helmand Province. The main target of the offensive was the town of Marjar, which had been controlled for years by the Taliban as well as drug traffickers. Although Moshtarak was described as the largest in Afghanistan since the fall of the Taliban, it was originally supposed to be the prelude to a much larger offensive in Kandahar that would follow Moshtarak by several months. However, ISAF chose to heavily publicize the operation before it was launched, comparing its scope and size to the 2004 Second Battle of Fallujah, in the hopes that Taliban fighters in the town would flee. The operation was also designed to showcase improvements in both the Afghan government and Afghan security forces. ISAF claimed that the operation was Afghan-led, would use 5 Afghan brigades. General Stanley A. McChrystal, the commander of ISAF, also promised that following the offensive ISAF would install a government in a box in Marjar. Although initially successful, ISAF and the Afghans failed to set up a working government in the town, leading to a successful resurgence by the Taliban. 90 days into the offensive, General McChrystal famously referred to it as a bleeding altar. In October the town was still described as troubling, but by early December the fighting there was declared essentially over. Strategic meaning. The operation was called a key test of the coalition strategy against the Taliban insurgency. Brigadier James Cowan, the commander of British forces in Helmand, believed it would mark the start of the end of this insurgency. At the very least it would become a test of whether the Afghan forces would be able to make their country peaceful and safe. The announcement of the operation was also a part of this strategy, shaping the information battlefield, strategic communications, and to ensure it would not repeat the destruction of Fallujah in Iraq in 2004. Hours before the offensive began, Afghan and coalition forces dropped leaflets with the message, "Do not allow the Taliban to enter your home." After this operation in Helmand Province, the neighboring province and the city of Kandahar became a target of American operations. In March 2010, U.S. and NATO commanders released details of plans for the biggest offensive of the war against the Taliban insurgency. New War Model. When launched, the operation was called the New War Model. Afghan and NATO officials had assembled a large team of Afghan administrators and an Afghan governor that would move into Marjar after the fighting, with more than 1,900 police standing by. "We've got a government in a box, ready to roll in," said American Commander Stanley McChrystal. The capture of Marjar was intended to serve as a prototype for a new type of military operation. The Afghan government had pledged to hold any territory seized in the Taliban to heartland during the assault. Utilities engineers were on hand to ensure power and water supplies were maintained.